Hey there! Today we're talking about one of the most important water features in your house, the toilet. Whether the toilet is leaking or malfunctioning, it is a major convenience in your house. And the toilet will have many points of failure. Finding this failure, it's time consuming and it's pretty much a guesswork. Let me show you how to fix a toilet completely for a fraction of the cost. So let's go ahead and shut off the water supply, give it a flush. Just make sure you remove as much as water as you can, giving a second flush before disconnecting the water line. And you can also disconnect this flapper just to make it easier on yourself. These should just pop up. Now it's time to remove all the water inside the tank. If you have a wet shop vacuum, this will come pretty handy at this time. If you don't, using a sponge like I am doing here and squeezing the sponge inside of the flapper hole, it's a much easier way to do it and saves you time. Using a wrench or a vice grip, hold in place the nut underneath the tank, and inside the tank you break loose the mounting bolt with a flathead screwdriver. If you find yourself having a hard time breaking loose these mounting bolts, check out the description below where I have a video just on that topic, where I help you break loose the most stubborn bolts on your toilet tank. And once you have removed all of the mounting bolts from your toilet tank and you have disconnected your water line, it's time to remove the tank. Grab yourself a towel or a rag, place on top of your toilet, and now you can lift up your tank and place it right on top of your toilet. If there is space in your bathroom to work on your tank, this job can be done right over here. In my case, without the equipment around, I'm gonna move this to the garage. All right, so for us to rebuild a toilet with completely new parts and guarantee that there's no more leak or any malfunction, we're gonna need one of these kits. You can find these kits on your local hardware store or even online. And if you need help, check the description below. This is a universal all-in-one toilet kit. It replaces all the mechanicals inside the tank. The problem is I have a 3 mounting bolt toilet tank and it's very hard to find one that has 3 mounting bolts. So you're gonna need one of these plus an extra hardware. Let's remove the flush valve gasket and then you're gonna see a large lock nut holding in place the flush valve. To remove this lock nut, you will need a large channel locks. Then by hand you can remove the lock nut that holds the fuel valve in place. Now we turn around this tank and take the guts out of the way. And then the last piece you have to remove here is the lever. And once you break loose the nut that holds the lever in place, you need to remove this link. And now you can slide the lever out. This is a good opportunity to get your tank cleaned. I cleaned this tank with regular water and soap and wiped it off. I installed the lever back on by hand and I tightened it with some channel locks. We now measure the height in which the lever is located. For us is 9 inches high. We'll then take the tape measure and measure the new flush valve. We will need to cut the flush valve 1 inch lower than the lever. In this case, we'll cut it at 8 inches. Inside the flush valve, you're going to see this protective paper. Make sure you remove it. Don't forget it. Then remove the gasket, the lock nut, and insert the flush valve inside the tank. Turn the tank around and start the assembling process. Tighten the nut first by hand, then with the channel locks, and place the gasket over the flush valve. Next is the fuel valve. In the fuel valve, there's a shank washer that needs to be assembled first before inserting the fuel valve into the toilet. Once you do, on the back side, use the lock nut to tie in the fuel valve in place. You now have this refill tube you need to install. The smaller section, or in other words, the section closer to the roller clamp, goes to the fuel valve. The longer section that goes to the flush valve. But because these are universal kits, you may need to cut back the refill tube. So measure the refill tube to the refill clip, cut it with pliers, and then you insert that into the refill clip, assembling the piece together. Now we install the chain to the lever. I wouldn't focus it too much on the length at this point. We'll need to adjust this once we have water in the tank. And here's a quick look on how everything looks so far. Now back inside the bathroom, we're gonna mount the tank into the toilet. And the way I like to mount these tanks are rubber washer into the mounting bolt and a second rubber washer onto the bottom of it. We install all three of these bolts and then we place the toilet tank back onto the toilet. To support the tank in place, we use a washer and a nut. I tie this nut by hand as far as I can go, and with a wrench I hold it in place, and inside the tank I give it a last turn. We connect the main water line back onto the tank and finally turn the water on. Now inside the tank, you're gonna notice the water rise, and then you give it a flush. What you're looking for here is that the water rises to the water line level. Some tanks have this marking on it, some don't, so you need to adjust it based on your tank. And to adjust the water line level in your tank, you're gonna see this set screw on top of your fill valve. You can turn that to the right to increase the water or to the left to lower the water in the tank. You may need to play with this a little bit until you reach the desired level of water in your tank. Now is the proper time to adjust the chain if it's too long, and also to cut the excess chain that's dangling. We now place the cover back on, and we have a fully rebuilt toilet. All new guts, which will last you for years to come with just a fraction of the cost of replacing a whole new toilet. However, if the porcelain that you have at home it's not in good condition and you want to replace the whole toilet, check out the next video where I walk you step by step from beginning to end on how to fully replace the toilet in your home. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something and I'll see you in the next one.